I want to talk about something called postback, and this is something that's fundamental to the way ASP.NET operates. And you need to be aware of it because it can be confusing. First of all, let's talk about what postback is. The first thing you need to understand is with ASP.NET, forms post user input back to the sending page for processing, which means if I request a certain page from the web server, and then I click on a submit button on a form, it posts it back to that same page on the web server, and there's a reason for this you'll see in later videos. Now, that's the normal operation in .NET. Now, by default, you need to understand this. All these server controls and so forth that we use in an ASP.NET page, since ASP.NET is so dependent on server-side processing, only button-click events cause the form to be posted back or to be sent back to the server. Now, this can be an issue with us because I may have a drop-down box that when a user chooses a certain option in the drop-down box, that I want that thing to go to the server and run some code and take some action, maybe bring something back from a database. Well, there's an auto postback setting that we can use on every control, server control, that will tell us that, hey, when this changes or when this happens on this control, go ahead and make a trip to the server. Otherwise, what happens is, and by default, auto postback is set to false on all of our controls, and only button click events cause a postback to occur back to the server or cause our information to be sent up to the server for processing. Now, this is to prevent too much traffic back and forth between the client and the web server. So any individual control that I want to have postback based on a certain event or a choice, I can turn that on. Now, auto postback is a property of the controls, and if I set it to true, then postback will occur when I manipulate that control. Now, you also need to understand there's a property that's built into the .NET framework in the ASP.NET section of the framework called isPostback, and this is a property of the page object. Now, isPostback is a property that is set automatically. Okay, and let's look at an example here. Let's say we have a page load event on a page that fires every time the page is requested. Well, the first time the user asks for this page might be a pretty good deal, that we want page load to run. But we don't want it to run on subsequent calls. And so let's take a look at this. Here's our user, and you can tell I'm an artist in my spare time. Don't have much spare time. But when we request a page, the first time the user requests this page, we have some page load code here. And this fires and begins to run. Well, then, after that's finished running, we return the page back to the user. The user fills out some form information and sends it back. Now, we don't want this page load to run again because it's already run, and we only want it to run the first time. The isPostback property can be checked to tell it whether or not this is a postback. That means the user's already seen this and now he's sending us something back, or this is the first time that the user's using it. If postback is true, then the user did this and this thing's being fired back at us because of user event. Now, isPostback can be used. We can set up a little if loop and check for the value of postback to prevent certain code from executing every time a page hits the user. And you'll see some examples of this later on. But I want you to hear this and see it because it can be quite confusing. A lot of the documentation that's out there never mentions this until you see the word isPostback, and then there's a little blurb and they don't fully explain it. So just understand, isPostback is a way that we can check it. Now, that property is set automatically. Now, isPostback is set to true if the control is being loaded in response to a client. So we can check postback. If it's false, then this is the first time this page is being loaded, and so we want to run our page load event. If it's true, then the client sent this to us. Don't run page load again. That's already happened. So that's postback. I just want to get you straight on this. You're going to hear about it. You're going to have to deal with it. And so now you're up to speed.